We're now exactly 6 months until Election Day in November, and if the last 3 months are any indication, it will be unlike anything we can imagine. President Trump versus former Vice President Joe Biden facing off during a global pandemic. So how will the candidates take each other on? How will Americans cast their ballots? And will any other issues besides coronavirus even matter? Our Terry Moran has a closer look.
In 6 months, America will hold an election unlike any other in the country's history. Almost certainly still in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic.
Are you prepared for this to strike again, say, in the fall?
In fact, I would anticipate that that would actually happen because of the degree of transmissibility.
Donald Trump and Joe Biden, two men in their 70s, two men in the age group among the most vulnerable to this virus, will battle for the nation's highest office. At the start of this election year, the political terrain looked very different. President Trump making his case for re-election in his State of the Union address just 3 months ago, describing what seems almost a different world.
Jobs are booming, incomes are soaring, poverty is plummeting, crime is falling, confidence is surging, and our country is thriving and highly respected again. I am thrilled to report to you tonight that our economy is the best it has ever been.
That was then. The reality of pandemic America now, 30 million people have lost their jobs in the U.S. The unemployment rate, economists say, is likely near 20% of the workforce, the worst since the Great Depression. Tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands by November, killed by this disease. So much of our lives shut down. President Trump's performance leading the nation's response for better or worse, and how a President Biden might lead the country differently out of the pandemic, that's the big issue now.
I view it as in a sense, a wartime president. I mean, that's what we're fighting. I mean, it's a very tough situation.
President Trump calls the coronavirus the invisible enemy, and history shows having a common enemy helps incumbent presidents running for re-election. James Madison was re-elected during the War of 1812, Lincoln during the Civil War, FDR, World War II, Nixon, Vietnam, and George W. Bush, the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. President Trump has, on occasion, sought to rally the country.
We are all in this together. We must put politics aside, stop the partisanship, and unify together as one nation.
Polls show there was a brief Trump bump, but it has faded. The rancor and the bitterness have returned. Orders.
You know you're a fake.
Claiming power he does not have.
When somebody's the president of the United States, the authority is total.
And then there was this bizarre moment.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it does a tremendous number in the lungs. So it'd be interesting to check that.
Despite the stumbles, Trump's emerging re-election strategy going forward appears twofold. Declare victory in the pandemic, no matter what, and attack Joe Biden as too feeble and too compromised by his long history in Washington to be trusted with the presidency at this critical moment. The Trump campaign already hitting Biden on not being tough enough on China.
Our self-interest that China continue to prosper.
What a beautiful history we wrote together.
And President Trump loses no chance to praise his own performance.
We're very proud of the job we've done.
In response to Trump's case to the voters, Joe Biden so far, locked down at his home in Delaware, has had a tough time connecting. Last week, he told Hillary Clinton that if things had gone as he'd hoped, he wouldn't even be in the race.
I wish this were us doing this and my supporting your re-election for President of the United States. You won the majority of the vote.
But here he is. And the question now, how can he campaign and get his message to the American people? He's tried to mix it up, this virtual campaigning, with mixed results.
Well, I thought we'd play some chess. What do you think?
I'd like to play chess. I've been playing on my cell phone. That's about it.
The technology seems to have gotten the better of him and his team sometimes.
Maureen, are you there?
But the Biden plan is clear. Go after Trump's record during the pandemic, hard, as in this recent ad.
country. Donald Trump left this country unprepared and unprotected for the worst public health and economic crisis in our lifetime.
But Biden will also have to defend his record and continue to face the recent allegations by Tara Reade, a claim Biden has flatly denied. Most analysts expect a close election in November again. Familiar battlegrounds in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. And a new question looms. How will America conduct an election during a pandemic? How will we vote? Election experts say it can be done, but preparations must begin now.
In 1918, we voted in the midst of a pandemic. We voted in the middle of wars. We have to worry that our democracy doesn't collapse, and we have to make sure that we have a way to have a successful vote in November so that all eligible voters who want to vote will be able to cast a ballot that will be fairly and accurately counted.
No election has ever been postponed. It's not something the president even has the power to do. So the campaign will go on. The contest between Donald Trump and Joe Biden somehow decided by voters. A contest also of democracy against disease.
Our thanks to Terry for that.